what is the number one thing that you want to happen each and every time you get on your boat and get ready to take it out? Well, heck, it's a pretty simple question, right? And the answer is, when you turn the key, you want the motors to start. Hi folks, I'm Lenny Rudo here for Boat US today to talk about something that can, well, have a big effect on whether or not those engines are going to start right up. Ethanol. Tip number one is pretty straightforward. If you can avoid using ethanol fuel, do so. Now, of course, ethanol-free gas is not available everywhere, and most of us at some point are going to have to burn it through our boats, if not every time we use the boat. The most critical thing here is to make sure it's not a higher ethanol content than 10%. It's normally called E10. If you fill up a trailer boat on the road at roadside gas stations, you may run into what's called regular 88. That's E15. That's 15% ethanol, and that does not go well when mixed with boats. Tip number two is another really simple one. Use your boat port. One of the big problems with ethanol is that it ages poorly. If it sits in your tanks for a couple of weeks at a time, that's when you run into issues. If you use your boat every weekend, burn that fuel out, and then refill it with fresh gas, you're going to be fine. Hey, added bonus, take tip number two to heart and you get to go out on your boat more. Tip number three, each and every fuel up, never skip this folks, use a good brand, reputable fuel additive that's designed to deal with ethanol issues. These really do help quite a bit. Tip number four, always keep your fuel tanks full. Now this was a good idea before ethanol ever came into the picture because it reduces condensation buildup in your tank. Of course that leads to water getting into the fuel. With ethanol it's more important than ever before. Let's say at the end of the day, you're coming in, you look at your fuel gauge and it's showing a half a tank. Top that sucker off before you tie your boat up. Tip number five now, we're looking at EFI 4-strokes here, and in this case this tip doesn't apply for motors like this, but if you have an engine with a carburetor, it's very important to run that carburetor dry at the end of the day. In some cases that may mean shutting off the fuel supply and letting the engine run until it stops. In other cases that may mean draining bowls on the carburetor. There may be drain screws. You need to go to the manufacturer's recommendations on this, people. Check out the manuals. I'm sure you can find them online for just about any motor out there. But the bottom line is, if you have a carbureted outboard, you want to make sure the fuel doesn't sit in that carburetor. What happens is it dries up, it gets gummy, it will really mess up the works. So if you've got a carbureted engine, get the gas out of there at the end of every trip. Again, folks, if you're not familiar with these issues, please go to BoatUS.com. Look at all the information there on ethanol. It's very important you educate yourself about this because, hey, when you get down to your boat the next time, you know what you want to happen.